Khenpo Sodargye was born in Dako in Kham, Tibet, on the 4th day of the 6th month of the Tibetan calendar in 1962. After being ordained at Larung Gar Buddhist Institute in 1985, Khenpo relied on Karma King Jemet Phunchok Rinpoche as his root guru. And throughout the years, Khenpo has been invited to lectures in prestigious Chinese universities such as Beijing Universities, Tsinghua Universities, University of Hong Kong, and has given presentation also in Funan, Nanjing, Renmin, and various Chinese universities. And in year 2011 and onwards, Khenpo has been invited to give presentations in Harvard universities and various international universities. So today we are very lucky to have Khenpo to be with us. So here we have Khenpo Sodargye, and let's have a round of applause before he can start.
I'm very happy today to be with teachers and professors here at this International Institute. The professor just said there are people here from 15 countries, different faiths, different nations, together here. Just now at the entrance, I saw many national flags. I counted. There should be 17. In any case, today, in such an inclusive, open environment, everyone can speak freely. For me, this is a very happy thing. So-called happiness, people all over the world are very concerned about it. Each person from morning to evening, from birth until death, continuously rushes toward the direction of happiness. I think everyone present today, including myself, are all people pursuing happiness. Of course, the methods of pursuing are all different. Some rely on material things to want to obtain happiness. Some rely on methods of adjusting the mind to obtain happiness. There's a saying, generally speaking, relatively lower level people rely on material things to obtain happiness. Relatively middle level people rely on art to obtain happiness. High level people rely on faith or spirituality to strive to obtain happiness. The topic we're exploring together today is life science and the art of happiness. The happiness I pursue, I think, compared with what all of you pursue, generally should be the same. But I personally rely on Tibetan Buddhism to obtain happiness. Similarly, among people present today, some rely on Christianity, Islam, and other religions, as well as some without religious faith. Each person will pursue the most meaningful, most beautiful things in their own life. Whether you have faith or don't have faith, even if you have faith, whatever faith you have, all should be greatly respected. Learning from each other, exchanging with each other, having a very tolerant mindset to embrace the world is also very important currently. I came to Thailand 14 years ago. At that time, the feeling was that here was also very pure. But after 14 years, coming here today, I feel the commercial waves outside have perhaps diluted our happiness somewhat. People call Thailand the land of smiles. This is similar to people in Tibet regions. Many people from East and West think we Tibetans are very happy, very joyful, often carrying smiles on our faces. Previously, I saw natural smiles on many people's faces, but it seems today until now, I haven't felt that so much. I come from Tibetan regions. The source of your current Mekong River is in Yushu, Qinghai, in our Tibetan region. So along one river, we have much culture, much worth learning from each other, or commonalities. This river, the Mekong River, did I say it correctly? The Chao Phraya River should be a tributary of the Mekong River. The source of this river is actually on the Qinghai Tibet Plateau. Actually, our Tibetan regions, including India, China, and many Asian countries' rivers, their sources are all the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, When this river reaches here, it's been polluted by various cities and technology. Now this river water can't be drunk. I'm very worried that our Tibetan region's rivers also won't be drinkable at a certain time. Now they can be drunk. Recently, I found that, including those from China and other countries, many people traveling to Thailand and coming to Thailand for vacation are increasing more and more. Similarly, our Tibetan region also has blue skies and white clouds. People from all places also want to go there. So we all face some very great crises. On one hand, more and more international guests is also very good. The tall buildings we construct get higher and higher. The cars we ride get better and better. But on the other hand, our inner faith, spiritual traditions, very possibly are decreasing more and more. Now, many people toward valuable inner faith, etc. In this aspect, many young people don't consider it as very meaningful. But especially in the external world, various television shows, movies, and advertising content are what people especially pursue. I feel Thailand and our Tibetan region have much in common. For example, when Thai people give names from childhood, Buddhists or monastics give them names, bless them, chant sutras for them. Our Tibetan region is also like this. People receive such influence from childhood. Any major ceremony has some Buddhist rituals to do. But in the future, will many generations of young people follow the traditional behavior? This is also a question. In Thailand, every town people can see stupas and monasteries in virtually. In our Tibetan region, it's the same. For example, the small county where I'm located has approximately 16 townships. Among them are over 20 monasteries. Looking at the current situation, they're basically the same. But now many young people feel whether it's Buddhism or other religions, the benefit it brings them seems not as good as money, not as good as some realistic wealth. This is a mistaken notion that young people have. Some young people feel that the benefit ancient religious traditions bring for our new generation of scientific people probably may not be very great. This kind of thinking actually shows a lack of understood of the true view of life. Now, many people think science is very advanced. Science brings benefit to people. This point I also don't deny. Indeed, with science, whether transportation, information, or external material conditions, all have improved. This point everyone will jointly acknowledge. But are all problems of humanity resolved by relying on science? Not necessarily. In humanity's long history, there are many ancient, very meaningful behaviors, faiths, rituals of ours. These must absolutely not be abandoned. If we blindly believe science can resolve everything, that's a mistaken idea. Because many things scientists themselves invented, in the end, they also regret themselves. For example, there was a British scientist, Martin Ryle. In 1974, he won the world's first physics Nobel Prize for a discovery in astronomy. The reason he won this prize, he mainly relied on radio science technology. Finally, the military had already utilized his technology. Later, when fighting wars, it harmed many people. Afterward, he discovered the truth himself. At his deathbed, he said, "In 1946, if I had become a farmer, it would have been better." He regretted being a scientist very much. He said because of his invention, his success from 1946, continuously researching science, he finally achieved this invention. But when many weapons destroying humanity were finally discovered, he said, "In 1946, if I had been a farmer, perhaps it would have been better for humanity." At death, although he left this testament, there was no way. It was already too late. Similarly, the scientist Einstein, he also first started to pay attention to the atomic bomb. In the end, during World War II, relying on the abuse of such technology, finally, many people's, over 20 million lives, were already lost. At this time, he also regretted very much. Through many times persuading and stopping the American president, but at this time it was also too late. In human history, since human civilization 5,000 years ago, 15,000 wars have occurred, and in wars, billions of people have died. Especially last century, in 100 years, close to 200 million people died from wars. Among them, dozens, 90 of countries were involved in wars. Why were the most people killed in the last century? it's the development of science. If in the future science develops more and more, if no conflict occurs between countries, it's very good. Once conflict occurs using scientific weapons, every country faces very great danger to life. Then who created these sciences? It's humans ourselves who made them. In a certain sense, we make many weapons. Actually, people are making weapons to destroy themselves. Therefore, we must advocate peace, advocate non-violence, advocate equality. Any religion in our world, no matter what it is, advocates goodness in people and its positive side. Buddhism's peace view is also the same. Back then in India, two countries, one called the Kingdom of Prasenajit, and another country, when war occurred between countries, Buddha Shakyamuni said, "If I gain victory in war, then my enemies become more and more. If I fail, just only my mind is uncomfortable." So we use peaceful methods to resolve. Perhaps religion's peace view under our temporary various politics, various special reasons, people may not necessarily accept. But at a certain time, they'll also acknowledge its viewpoint. Just like back then, Aung San Suu Kyi of Myanmar, at the beginning, with her peace nonviolence viewpoint, many people didn't acknowledge. But later, everyone knew this is an indispensable factor for human survival. I don't know if you've seen a famous French director's film, The Lady. She at that time faced gun muzzles for democracy, for freedom, for peace, willing to pay with her most precious life. Actually, each of us, all humanity's peace is our common goal. Many of us, when discussing what's not related to one's own life, some principles of overall human morality, don't necessarily like to listen, don't necessarily like to study, but actually what's most important for us is morality. I heard all students at your International Research Center in the future will go to various countries to become leaders. If someone doesn't have a kind heart, lofty behavior in any country, it's also very terrible. If you become leaders in the future, if the first thought is corruption or money, then you can't become a leader. Even if you do, you're a bad leader. Now, about many people's values, only when money and love are discussed, they feel anything. Everything else is equivalent to, there's an idiom, playing music to a cow. Previously, ancients had playing music to a cow. What does it mean? It's very beautiful, pleasant sounding, delightful music. But as a yak, it only values eating grass, drinking water. Besides this, no matter how good the sound, it has no interest. Once, when a calf's sound or its own kind's life sounds appear, it will pay attention. I've been to some schools. In schools, everyone is very concerned about the employment issues. Then one's own family issues. Many people are very concerned. Besides this, how do I become a good person? In this aspect, many students don't care. I'm not very familiar with life here, but actually generally, it's all the same. In any case, I myself think it's best to have a very virtuous character, a mentality wanting to help others. Both are indispensable for young people, because in the current era, many people's concern for faith is relatively superficial. Actually, if we have a kind of faith in life, especially when economic fluctuations, political turmoil, and upheavals happen, people with faith have very stable mentality. They can face any disaster. As young people, you must know science's role for people over these several hundred years absolutely cannot replace religion's survival value over thousands of years. From Buddhism's perspective, previously India's Prime Minister Nehru, he was a very great statesman. How did he say it? He said, "In our current world filled with violence, filled with turmoil, filled with conflict, Buddhism is like the sun full of radiance." He said, "In such a world filled with atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs, nothing else is as important as Buddhist doctrine. Humanity has walked for more than 2,500 years, only further verifying or further proving its durability and importance." Buddhism is like this. Other religions also have their survival value, their contribution and benefit to humanity. Therefore, I often think in our current new era, many new inventions, new commercial waves, and various kinds of interactions gradually wash away our very precious faith, very precious virtue we ourselves possess. Although some people now have faith, They believe rather superstitiously. Toward science, there's also superstition. Toward religion, there's also superstition. If you have faith in science, I hope you should very seriously research why you have faith in it. If you have faith in a religion, also need to seriously research it. Why do you have faith in it? Religious faith truly has inconceivable meaning. Once there was a philosopher called Berkeley. He said, "When we close our eyes, all cliffs in the world are gone." Many people thought he was very idiotic. Actually, he was discussing religion's power. Therefore, people present may also think. Sometimes you open your eyes. You may not necessarily find happiness. You close your eyes. Perhaps you obtain happiness. Do you get what I mean? I'm very worried our current science, the various advertisements, external things, and humanity's currently inherent faith. If in our brief 100+ years it's very possible Thailand's, our Tibetan regions, Buddhism and traditions finally all become just an image, that would be very regrettable. I'm very worried. Perhaps it's excessive worry. There's something called the man of cheese worry about the sky falling. Previously there was a person who every day thought the sky would collapse. He was very sad, very worried, but the sky didn't collapse. But my worries indeed deserve the attention of our young peoples, because when we don't have faith, no matter how abundant external material is, there's no happiness. If our inner spiritual peace and tranquility are absent, just having external money, whether dollars or other money, more and more, doesn't necessarily bring happiness. We often see people in high-class hotels all have no smiles, but some poor people in the mountains, near tranquil monasteries, often have laughter. Many of young people think, later, I'll have much money and then we'll be very happy. But when your money becomes more and more, you're more and more suffering.
So no money,
This is proven by history, and life experience will also prove. Especially in America in recent years, many surveys show our prosperity index and people's money becomes more and more. The happiness index becomes lower and lower. The goals many young people now pursue, I feel, aren't very appropriate because in their eyes, only money, status, fame will make life meaningful. But actually, it's not like this. Our lives definitely need to have a kind of one's own cultivation, morality, altruism. Only this way, our lives can become even more perfect. Many Thai people think Lost in Thailand brought you economic benefit, tourism development. All people from top to bottom of the country should be very grateful. But actually, such causes and conditions for you, whether good or bad, is very hard to say. I'm very worried our Tibetan region also has a Lost in Tibet. If Tibet is also continuously tourism, continuously development in this way, when finally all culture is gone, then I don't know what to find. Because now where my monastery is at the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, there are still some vast, flat grasslands, forests, minerals, and a lot of resources, especially people's smiles and faith. Through tourism and development, perhaps we have much money, but if the inner mind isn't happy, money is useless. Many young people's future mission is in your hands, but we're also very helpless because we're swept into the wave of the era. Because the wave of 21st century era, its power is very great. So even if we, very few people, discover, we may not necessarily have the ability to obstruct. We think new things are indispensable for us, but we also can't forget old things are even more meaningful for us. We think external property is very useful for us, but we also can't forget our inner peace is even more important for us. We think technological invention is very important for us, but we also can't forget religious tradition is even more meaningful for us because the happiness that new things and external property bring us is temporary and changeable. But our religion, these inherent happinesses, should be said to be eternal. Their benefit to us is even more extensive. It is also our bounden duty that each of us seeking our own happiness in the future, each of you will have a family. All need your own salary, need money and status. But we also can't forget those around us, benefiting sentient beings, benefiting other people, including humanity's inherent heritage. This is also our responsibility. Actually, for each person, life is very brief. Decades pass very quickly. I sincerely hope each person in their own lifetime should do meaningful things. Because when we come to this world, we won't starve to death. We won't be like some refugees in Africa. We won't starve to death. People present, especially you with such a high level, won't starve to death. But we possibly lack spiritual nourishment and starve from that. I see many of my friends, their money becomes more and more, but inner spirit becomes more and more impoverished. So sometimes we need balance. Actually, human life should, if one's required standard isn't high, that is acceptable. Ants are also same. Every ant has its own values, has its own life. Sometimes when I fly, I see the cities below. Actually, humanity and ant colonies have no difference. Ants are also especially busy. Every day they are doing work. They go to work. They have their life patterns. Also, among ants, 20% rely on mental labor. They don't go to work. They also have their lifestyle. If each of us, besides living for ourselves, besides a selfish mind, has no mind to help others, then such a mind is very narrow. Although now many university students, the name is university student, but the mind is very narrow. The mind is elementary school students, the diploma is university students. Between people, a very small matter can't be overcome. People get very attached. It brings great suffering to oneself and others. So when we encounter suffering, we must have a kind of courage, must have far-seeing perspective. In some other schools, whether in relationships or in life suffering, some people choose suicide. Absolutely can't choose this. I think there won't be any here. In Thailand's universities, is there the phenomenon of university students committing suicide? In other countries, there's rather much. I hope you'll give me an answer later. This is my question. I believe there won't be, because here many people have faith. When we encounter suffering in life, it seems there's no way out in life. But in our windows, if we see a bit of light, we should also break through, should advance. Because life's darkness is just like current day and night. Temporary darkness. If you wait, if you break through, there will also be the next day's brightness and sunshine. In life, many people who fail are often those who can't wait for dawn and lose direction in darkness. Our lives need waiting, need courage, and our smiles, I hope they'll endure forever. Thank you all for your smiles.